Hey everyone. So initially the plan had been to do this vlog like any other, but within a few seconds of entering Dachau concentration camp, it was clear that this wasn't going to happen, so it's going to be done through the power of voiceover instead. Dachau was the first ever concentration camp, set up in 1933, just months after Hitler became Chancellor of Germany. It was initially a holding ground for political prisoners and normal German criminals. On opening, it held just 200 inmates, though it was built to hold 6,000. When the camp was eventually liberated by the Americans in 1945, it held over 20,000. This number would have been far higher if it weren't for an outbreak of typhoid which killed thousands in the camp. Once we'd gotten over the shock of entering the camp, we circled around following the path of remembrance to the crematorium, which was relatively small compared with ones you can find in other camps around Europe. Dachau was a holding ground, not an extermination camp. The killing of inmates was done for fun or sport. Prisoners would be lined outside with the promise of showers, though in reality it is unlikely that any of them actually believed that that was what was going to happen. They would strip, be disinfected, and stand waiting whilst their fellow inmates were locked in a room that was quickly filled with poisonous gas. And then it was their turn. Fellow inmates would clear up the bodies afterwards. Some were burnt at the crematorium, whilst others were buried in mass graves. Apparently, a favoured sport from the SS guards was to have prisoners burn the dead in the crematorium and then force them to hang themselves whilst the bodies burn. After the crematorium, we visited the memorials set up years after the camp was closed. Following the path back, we entered the barracks. These were mostly a lie within themselves, reconstructed after they were burnt to the ground by the Americans as part of the conversion of Dachau into a memorial site. The barracks were built on the model that they were first done when the camp was opened, when it held 6,000 prisoners. At its peak, it is estimated that Dachau had over 60,000 prisoners. As the rain hit, we entered the former maintenance building, which talked through the history of the Nazi rise to power, displaying how Hitler was able to deceive even Red Cross officials who came to inspect the camps. For me, Dachau reaffirmed why I believe Nazism and their final solution may have been the single greatest tragedy of modern times. Other dictators have killed more, but the Nazi regime was about more than just killing. It was about stripping those they considered inferior of everything. It was nothing but pure hatred for people, based on characteristics that were totally out of their control. And the thought that this hatred could poison and infect an entire country of millions of people is scary. And the amount of work, money, time and planning that went into this systematic extermination is terrifying. And they were allowed to do this because people believed the propaganda spouted by the party, which blamed the previous government and minority groups for the problems the country was facing. And that propaganda called upon the purists of the country to work and do their bit to, in the eyes of the party, make that country great again. I wonder where I've heard that recently.